Hello and good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful sunny morning here in London. Today's topic is all about the personal tax account and the business tax account debt review. So here we are. We're starting this morning in the personal tax account. And if you think about it, obviously, like it says, this is everything to do with you as an individual. So it's not limited in any way to you as a business owner or a freelancer. And when you think of going on your HMRC portal, probably most often to file your annual self-assessment return, you tend to think of any sort of tax account that you have in relation to that obligation. But actually your personal tax account is far more than that and offers you an overview of all of the different ways in which you as an individual are likely to interact with HMRC. So what we're looking at here is the home page of the personal tax account. And actually, for those of you who are panicking and thinking, well, I don't even know how to get to that home page, I say don't panic, because before we finish up this session, one of the slides that I'm going to share with you is that process of how do you get to this point. But we're going to talk you through what's within the offering first, and then I'm going to guide you through what you need to do to actually set yourself up and get to this point. Okay, so let's assume you've logged in and you've managed all of that. You've signed up if you haven't yet done so, and then you've logged in successfully. Here you are on the home page of your personal tax account. And the main thing that you need to be aware of is that it's these tabs here that my mouse is pointing to. These are the key tabs that you want to be aware of within this personal tax account. This is where everything starts from. So we're on the home tab here. This is actually quite an extended tab. What you're seeing here with these top three boxes, latest news, pay as you go, self-assessment, they're actually only the start of what's available on this home page. I'm going to click forward to further down that screen. Obviously, these are static images, so I can't scroll up and down for you, but this is what you see further down that same page. So if we work our way up from the bottom, let's say, at the very bottom here, we've got pensions. It gives you the ability to click in and see where you're at in terms of your state pension forecast. It's really useful to be able to click in and see what your national insurance record is. For those of you who've had a mixture maybe of employment and self-employment throughout your working life, it gives you a chance to see how is that tallying up, to see whether there's any gap in years, and to address that before you get to retirement age. So that's really handy. The other useful part of these lower four boxes that are available on this home screen are, as you can see, I hope they're big enough. This one here on the far right is marriage allowance, where you can transfer your allowance back and forth between spouses if it's relevant to you. There are criteria around that, so obviously it depends on whether it's applicable, but if it is, this is where you can manage that. Those of you in receipt of child benefit or who want to claim child benefit, or indeed who are now in a position where they need to opt out of receiving child benefit because it's only going to get clawed back as part of an annual tax submission or maybe via PAYE, this is where you can update your information there. For those of you who are making tax credits claims, that's where you can do that. I'm going backwards, further up the screen to the top of it now, and looking here at this grey box on the far right hand side is your self-assessment box. We're going to come back and talk about that in much more detail in a minute, because that's really where all the action is for you as a freelancer and where the action will be as far as making tax digital is concerned in the future. But for those of you who maybe have a mixture of employment and self-employment, here you have your pay as you earn box. This is where you'll see annual reports from your employers. So a copy of your P60, maybe you had more than one employer in a year, you'll see what the reports that they have made on your behalf look like. And that again can be really useful if you want to double check that you think everything's right. And then obviously, as it says, latest news and messages over here. So that is fairly self-explanatory. So that's the home page. And as I say, the one that we're really interested in is over here, is self-assessment. I will say at this point, because it has a relationship with this tab over here, the business tax account tab, for my money, this is where these two accounts are quite confusing. Because if you are a self-employed sole trader or freelancer and you log in and create a personal tax account in order to have a look at all this information, and particularly to get to your self-assessment record, you'll have it available to you here. But you can actually also have it available to you here. Now, if you think about it logically, it might help keep it straight in your mind. If you think about it as an individual, your self-assessment is not limited necessarily just to your self-employment and to your freelance income and expenditure. If you do a self-assessment return, it'll pull in all kinds of other bits of information, like potentially child tax benefit, maybe some PAYE if you have it, or maybe you have a buy-to-let flat that you need to report about each year. So there's all kinds of elements that fall into the category of self-assessment that don't necessarily even need you to be running a sole trade or to have a self-employment to need to still be able to access this self-assessment box. However, if in addition to all the normal self-assessment stuff that you need to report, you also have a sole trade or self-employment, then obviously you're running a business. And that's where they offer the facility to report your business income and expense through a self-assessment tab that's also available in your business tax account. So I hope I've clarified rather than confused with that. I think the main thing that you need to take away here is that the ability to see your self-assessment record is available to you both through your personal tax return, but it's also available through your business tax account, through your personal tax account, I should say, and also available through your business tax account. We're going to get to that tab in a minute. I'm going to go through them one by one and try and keep it in order for you. Okay, so that's your home page. That's really the engine of it all. That's where the really important stuff lies for the most part. If I click on through, that was the lower half of the home page, if you remember. This is what it looks like when you click into the self-assessment box. So that far right-hand side box that said self-assessment on your home page. If you click into that, this is the screen that you're going to come to. And of course, once you're in here, you've done a deep dive into all of the different aspects of your self-assessment. So you'll see it's where you can complete your tax return. It's where you can check what payments you've made. It's where you can make a payment. For those of you who were in receipt of SICE back in 2020 and 21, it's where this element of income got reported and you can check all your records there. And for lots of you, if you weren't already using a personal tax account, you had to get going with one in short order when COVID struck, because that was the way to get in and make a SICE claim if you needed to. So this is the sub-menu, if you like, within the self-assessment box that's on the far right-hand side of that home page. And obviously, for those of you freelancers, this is the one you really want. View and manage your self-assessment tax return. It's where you can get in and get going on completing your tax return. And so for many of you, this is going to be incredibly familiar. I suppose what can be confusing is that I'm looking at it through the lens of my personal tax account. But lots of you, historically, have always logged in with a user ID and a password and got into your self-assessment portal. So your self-assessment portal is this section, but it doesn't have all of the other bits that you can see on the home page of your personal tax account. So it's like a magnifying glass that sort of parachutes you in to this section of your personal tax account. But for the big picture, it's the personal tax account you want, and then you can deep dive into the self-assessment part of it within here. Okay, so lots of different ways to get to the same place, and I think that's what makes it so confusing. But what we're trying to do today is to let you know what's available in each of these different areas. Okay, so I'm just going to move on to the next slide. Okay, actually, sorry, before I do that, I'm going to go back and just show you where I'm going. So I'm moving on to the messages section now, because I want you to be able to see what that offers you. Okay, so here we go. Moving on. Here we go. I have no messages. If you had any messages or open sort of communications with HMRC, let's say, this is where you'd be able to pick it up and find things. So this is where you'll see that. It's, as you can see, it's pretty self-explanatory, so we won't spend too much time here. The next one I'm going to go for is check progress. To be honest, we're going to whiz through this. It's fairly straightforward as well. Any of you who do some traveling abroad, if you've put in an A1 application, for example, or you've applied for a certificate of residency for one reason or another, this will be where you can see that. Okay. Now we're going to move on to profile and settings. When you get to that page, this is what it looks like. I brought you to this page because there are two really useful little sections here, which I think are well worth pointing out to you. And they're down here at the bottom. The trusted helpers section. So if you were to click into that screen right there, the trusted helpers section, this is what you get to. It gives you the facility to nominate somebody who can help you with your tax. If you click in here and you say, ask somebody for help with my tax, it will ask them for their name and their details, their national insurance number, and then they will become a recognized user, if you like, of your tax account, and they'll be able to help you with your self-assessment and so forth. Equally, if you're more confident and you're in a position to help somebody else, you can look at it from the other way around and you can click in and offer your help. It actually allows you to offer help to up to 5 people to help them in turn with their tax. So I think that's a very unknown element of this particular HMRC interaction that you can have, but well worth pointing out. Okay, so now we're going to go to the final tab, which is not visible on this page right here, but from your home screen, you will have seen at the beginning, we talked about the business tax account. So when you click into that far right tab, business tax account, from within your personal tax account, stay with me here, this is where you'll come to. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, why would I bother? I've got my self-assessment already. That's everything I need. And for lots of you, I wholeheartedly agree. Do not make your life more complicated. But there may be situations where you do want to have a business tax account. The key ones would be if you're VAT registered as a freelancer or a sole trader, because you have more complicated interactions with HMRC, and the VAT element will be tied to your business tax account to get more detail on your VAT account. And or maybe you're an employer. Even as a sole trader or a self-employed business, you are also an employer of others. And if that's the case, you can add that tax to your business tax account, and you can have oversight of your role as an employer and oversight of your role as a VAT reporter, in addition to your self-assessment, which is also going to be sat within this account. Okay, so if you were to go into that and you wanted to add taxes to it, this is the page that you're going to get. You're going to see a tab here that says add a tax to your account. This is where you can click in and add, for example, VAT or maybe PAYE. And it also helpfully has a loop that takes you back around to your personal tax account. So it links you back the full 360, if you like, to where we started if you were to click that bottom view your personal tax record tab. Okay, this is what it looks like if you've added self-assessment. You remember at the beginning, I said to you, some of you might have added your self-assessment to your business tax account in the first instance without realizing the distinction between the two accounts. If you did that, this is where you'll see your self-assessment. So it's, again, same sort of thing. It's another way to parachute into your self-assessment, one of 3 ways actually altogether that we've talked about today. Okay. I'm conscious of the time. It always seems to go really quickly, these 15 minutes. I think I'm going to run out of things to say after 6 minutes, and here I am still waffling away after 15. So I'm just very quickly going to talk you through what it looks like to set it up. So in order to set it up, literally type in HMRC personal tax account, and it'll take you to this login page. It'll give you the option to set one up if you have not yet done so. If you have, it'll take you to the Start Now page, where you sign in using the same user ID credentials that you sign in for self-assessment for filing your tax return, for example, or maybe you used it to claim SICE. Those are the user ID credentials that you want to use here. So you click in to sign now. It'll ask for your details. I will also mention that it would be really useful to have the following bits of ID to hand: a UK passport, if that's what you have, a UK driving licence, details of a tax credit claim, or information on your credit record. The fifth option would be details from your self-assessment return. You need details from 2 of those 5 identity checkers in order to get in and add taxes to your personal tax account. So for example, if you want to add your self-assessment, or if you're within your business tax account and you wanted to add VAT, for example, or PAYE, you're going to get asked to do an identity check that will go through 2 of those 5 details. So we are My Tax Advisor.